Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Ty, and today I want to do a short or medium length video on SparkPoint ecosystem, cryptocurrency. It's something I follow regularly. I think I might know just as much as anybody else that's not involved in the team because of the amount of time I spend looking at this coin and studying what they do. And today I want to discuss a little bit about my pros and cons of it from an investor perspective, and why I chose to purchase this coin, why I think it's somewhere I wanted to put my money. So first, we're going to talk about a few things. We'll look here at Bitmart. This is, unfortunately right now the premier exchange for at SparkPoint. Bitmart is a little laggy. I've had a couple of issues with it, as have some others. I guess most importantly on the exchange is always remember to keep your money in the wallet. SparkPoint has a wallet for you. There is something like 900 million SparkPoints stored in Bitmart in their wallet. So if those are your tokens, I advise you to store them elsewhere. Anyways, it's been on Bitmart for close to a year. It was initially on Hotbit and it was trading there, and then some on P2P, B2B. However, that exchange is no longer active because their minimum threshold for trading is 1 Satoshi, and right now SRK BTC trading pair is a third of a Satoshi. So that exchange will possibly pick up down the road. So let's look at the chart. What are some things that I look at here? Well, I just tweeted a couple days ago this little cup and handle pattern. I like to look at chart analyses. I'm not sure if they mean so much, but if they do, you would expect after this weekly cup and our handle is almost completed its formation, we would expect an uptick in price that would exceed the bounds of this cup here. One of the problems with SparkPoint trading that I see is sheer volume. If you look at, let's do a daily chart, or maybe a 4 hours better. This is better. So if you look and you see these large volume candles on the 4 hour, these are completely artificial. You can watch over here, and I know some of you already know this. Some party, my hypothesis is it's either Bitmart in an attempt to bump trading volumes, or it's SparkPoint, perhaps with the goal to do the same, or I know exchanges require minimum trading volumes to maintain a listing, so possibly they're doing it for that reason. However, these big candles on the volume are entirely artificial, bringing SparkPoint's 24-hour volume on a daily basis to usually a quarter, 0.25 bitcoins or less. So when you get to patterns such as this cup handle, you really need volume, first and foremost, for any trading action to happen, to which there is none on Bitmart. And Bitmart has the most volume, so we can't expect any trends to really come out of Hotbit either. Other things I look at here, it's been hanging down at this price for a while. It's up. I've personally have been buying SparkPoint here and there since before it was listed on Bitmart, so I've bought it a little bit of everywhere along the way. Later I'll get into why I'm comfortable doing that. But again, notes here, Bitmart is all we have for now. Just don't keep your money here. Once you get your tokens, just get them out, because it's Bitmart. Let's go talk about the website. I have a few issues with the website. When they first started, they had another website that was worse, but this one, so this isn't bad, right? It's nice to look at. These are a little bit large. I personally, design-wise, like a little more compact screen, but okay, let's scroll down. I don't know if this needs its entire half of my screen to make the point. A couple of these, here's the wallet, SparkX, SparkPlay, which we know is coming along, SparkLearn, which is in development. It's close, SparkPlace in the near future. But anyways, it's an alright website. It just seems a little bit simple. I think the most frustrating thing to me about the SparkPoint website is I feel like to get the most up-to-date and accurate information on SparkPoint, I should be able to go to SparkPoint's website. They should obviously be the most efficient at reporting their own product information. But when I come into their SparkPoint token, their supply is inaccurate. These exchanges are inaccurate. QuantaX was like a fluke. It was listed there for a couple of days. Some of these links are dead. So it's a little bit irritating. Whether, it's possible they're creating something new, so they're like, we're not going to fix that because we're going to replace it, then so be it. This one, I clicked ecosystem, it took me to the same, spot. Partners, this is cool. This was part of the Delivery XSpark partnership. And I've heard from a couple of sources that the Delivery XSpark is just delayed, but there hasn't been much from SparkPoint themselves. So as an investor, I'm currently writing it off as it's not going to happen because there's nothing keeping us in the loop. There was other partners during that campaign that never even got posted to the website. So people look for, hey, there's a dozen or so partners affiliated, but no, when you look here, there's only 3 because that's all that's reported by the team on the website. And then lastly, if we go to the white paper, which is still the first version I've ever seen, even though it says 2.1, we come in here, the token is actually SPRK. One thing that I notice, like, it's so outdated that SRK doesn't report accurately. These are simple. I appreciate them putting the white paper on here because they didn't have it for a while, and it seems pretty important to have listed. I know some exchanges, if you look at their listing requirement informations, they like you to submit a white paper. But then when you come in and you see again that SparkPoint doesn't even represent their token correctly, it's a little unfortunate. It seems like you could have a member spend a couple hours and at least update some of the grammar issues in there. Moving on to Twitter. This is it for SparkPoint's marketing. There's a little medium I have coming up, but in a nutshell, SparkPoint uses Twitter as marketing. So I understand it's low cost. It's from what I can tell, the best place to get news on cryptocurrency. I use Twitter basically and nothing else to follow different cryptocurrency updates. So in the last couple of months, we've been getting these monthly roadmaps, which is great. I like it. They're not too aggressive, which is good in a sense that, they're a small team. It's just Andy, the CEO, Rico, the CTO, and then Javier and Medard are the 2 devs. And so it's just, 3-4 guys working regularly. So when you see, you're like, one thing a week, that's good because they're not setting themselves up for failure. But, a tournament ending, doesn't really, I get it, it's an important thing, but, announcing the winners doesn't really, make me think, oh, wow, that's a great accomplishment for that week. You just announced people that played the game. But it's exciting to those that played the game. They're looking forward to saying, hey, yeah, look, I'm going to get my coins and go SparkPoint. And it's a talking point for that day, but not necessarily a huge accomplishment. But the underlying accomplishment here is the fact that they have these mobile app games, which are very nice. So this partnership announcement coming up next week, I'm looking forward to, the last time they had a partnership on one of these, It was rock stable, which, who knows what in the world that is. So hopefully this is good, but if it's something like that, then, whatever. Eventually these will start getting better, I hope, and I mean, they have to. Start of another tournament, that's not really big news either. So, you look at these things and you're like, yeah, wow, look at, they're doing all this stuff. But, if this turns out to be a dud partnership and then they round out the month by just starting a tournament, which really isn't a development, then that's whoop-de-doo. So that's kind of all I got for that. We can look back at their updates on Medium. This is kind of where Rico and at times others like to post information, little blogs about what's going on. And I know at this point I seem probably a little bit more weighted on the side of, SparkPoint's terrible, but as something I watch every day, I'm sort of a big critic to it. However, I'm going to get to the parts where I'm actually bullish on this coin and have put a fair amount of my money into investing in it. So, Crypto Slicer, this was revolutionary for SparkPoint. It's their first mobile app game. It's cool. I personally played it for a little bit to try it out. Not my favorite game, but now Crypto Burst has come along, and I like playing that a little bit more. It depends on your gaming style. But mobile app games are sweet. You can play them all the time. And, I think that's a really good startup. They're selling these knives. Just in general, you could buy these knife packs. It doesn't really change the gameplay, so maybe some people that are guru Crypto Slicer fans or SparkPoint fans are going to purchase these. But now tomorrow there's going to be these non-fungible tokens released for the legendary and uniques. I'm not sure if they look the same. So you'll be able to buy these, which I'm curious. I don't know a ton about NFTs, of how these are stored on the blockchain, and so how SparkPoint is going to manage where I store my NFTs. Are they going to be stored on Crypto Slicer, or am I going to have a spot in the wallet to store an NFT? So I'm interested to see how that is. However, the idea is very cool. Whether or not Crypto Slicer knives is something that people will go after. However, down the road, as I think Journey Crypto mentioned, if they do become successful, then much later on people will look back and be like, what in the world are those? Those are super rare, and I wish I had some. So tomorrow I'll probably pick up a couple of each, because why not? It's a few bucks. Here, this quarterly burning and buyback program, we were waiting for that information for a while. I'm still a little bit skeptical on the supply of SparkPoint with the burning, and is there indeed a quarterly burning? The amounts have been inconsistent, so there's never been a set of we are going to burn this many tokens on the whatever date of each quarter. It's very fluid, which as an investor you're like, all right, well, last week you burned, or last quarter you burned 500 million tokens, but next quarter you could burn 1 billion. Maybe you're going to burn 5,000. So there really hasn't been finite information, and as an investor, I sort of get the feeling that they're like, well, we're going to do whatever suits us, which is how it should be. It's their company, but yet I think you need to give your investors a little bit of guarantee of, hey, thank you for investing with us. We're going to do our best to be as transparent as possible with what we're doing with your money, in a sense. So anyways, Medium's cool. There's some good stuff that comes out on here. The big one was right here, I guess, about the buyback program, that they've at least officially announced that they are going to start buying back coins regularly, and they actually gave a percentage range of 60 to 70% of Crypto Burst and Crypto Slicer revenue, plus etc. of games to come. Uh, so we'll look on CoinMarketCap, because this is actually the place you have to go if you want the accurate total supply instead of the SparkPoint website, which is super annoying. So 14.5 billion, whatever, that's a lot of tokens. It says, let me go back to their website real quick. If you go to their SparkPoint token, it says right here they're going to reduce to 10 billion. So there's been some waves that could possibly be a less than 10 billion, but they've published it right here, 10 billion coming. So we have to wait. There's the strategy of I'm going to burn a few each quarter, or I'm just going to burn them all and they'll get priced in. Me personally, I think it's more of a marketing ploy to be able to say, every quarter, oh, we're burning coins. But I think that gets priced in if you just go ahead and burn them anyways. But that's a company decision. If they think that that's a better strategy, then so be it. It allows them to market. So circulating is 5.317 billion, which is just over a third of the total supply. But that also doesn't mean that these are in people's wallets. These could be, like I said before, there's over 900 million coins on Bitmart's storage wallet, meaning that almost 1/5 of the supply, circulating supply, is in Bitmart, which could still be owned by SparkPoint, waiting to sell to users. Because SparkPoint, I probably should have mentioned this in the beginning, but SparkPoint, did not do an ICO. They did not raise much funds. They did sort of equivalent with what's called an initial exchange offering, or IEO, where basically they just got on an exchange, said, here we are, start borrowing our coins, which I'm super happy with. I appreciate that. But since the exchanges are, they're poor and there's just no volume, it's taking a long time for them to get this supply distributed. So what that means is if you want to go in and you're like, wow, I'm going to go, buy all these coins and it's going to come up. Well, it's possible that SparkPoint still has nearly 1 billion coins sitting in Bitmart waiting to sell, meaning that this price could go nowhere for quite a while. And there's obviously still almost 10 billion more that are not spoken for. So this is the one thing I've always wanted some actual data on, which they've never provided, because this is really big here. The supply. So yes, they're going to burn down to 10 billion, but are they going to distribute all of these up to 15 billion and then buy them back? What is the threshold? Also, is there a strategy to this? Is there, are they like, we're just going to dump all the coins here at this price, or are they doing it in tiers? They said we'll dump a billion here, let it raise 20%, and then dump 1 billion here. So as an investor, that's one of the most concerning things I have, at least in the short to mid-term, because it's been over a year approximately, and they've only gotten to this part of circulating supply, potentially less. One of the things I watch is if you're short-term on it, they have the power to just demolish, gains because of this need to increase circulating supply. So be careful with that. All right, so that was a lot of bashing on SparkPoint, but let's get into some of the things of why I'm invested in it. This is one thing I've posted a couple of times. This was an update. Across the bottom here is the price of cryptocurrencies that I pulled from CoinMarketCap. The circulating supply is listed on the bottom, from 3 billion over here on the left side to 7 billion circulating supply over on the right. So at the time, it looked like SparkPoint's circulating supply was about 3.5 billion. So right now they're a little over 5 at 5.3. So that would put their dot here. And then on the y-axis is the price, which actually has not changed much. So they more or less have followed this trend line. And right now, SparkPoint's dot would be right about here where my mouse is. So what does this mean to me? This means it's an outlier on the low side. So I've looked at some of these other low dots, and what are they? They're either abandoned projects, they're projects that were just sort of crap to begin with, never came to fruition. They're all pretty terrible. But then you have this really low-lying one down here, and it's SparkPoint. And you look at them, and what's their story? Well, they're not an old project that's gone dead. They're a new project that's starting up, which the IEO opportunity has, and their lack of awareness has kind of created the perfect storm, in my opinion, as an investor, to have some incredible gains here, because this is a logarithmic scale on the left side. So every one of these lines, it moves up in the y-axis is 1,000%. It's 10 times. It's a log-based 10 scale. So if SparkPoint, sort of comes up into the first line here, it's that's a few 100%. That's big, and it's still right there with all these other projects that are just garbage. So this is big for me. This is the average of all these coins, this line, as you move down the volume or the supply. If you take the center of this average, it equals 0.0026 cents, which right now it'd be a little bit less, but you'd probably be somewhere around the 8,000% gains if you get to this average price. Do I think it's going to get there? I don't know, maybe. But that's a lot of room to come up. It's basically like, hey, this exchanges won't even allow it to go much lower, right? It's almost impossible for this to go lower in price. The only way I see is up. That's one of the tools I look at. And then you look at this guy, this Rico Zuniga, and this team. They've been extremely humble. Part of the frustration is, on Twitter, their main source of marketing is they go days, without saying a word, and then sometimes when something comes across, it's not much. Most of the time it's substantive. It's like, hey, we made something new, but it's you just have to wait. You're like, I don't even know if these guys are working. What do I do? That's just what's going on. But this guy, they made pretty clear from the beginning that at least Rico here likes Binance. And if we go up, this was back when they started to get BNB native token in the wallet. Here it is again. Last update of the year, they got BNB listed in there. There's another one where they have a picture with CZ, and then so now the wallet has Binance in it. Crypto Slicer has a Binance boss. Crypto Burst has a Binance, game piece in it. So you have to ask yourself at that point: are these guys trying to, sort of pump the price? And they're saying, "Oh, look, we have Binance stuff, so come buy us," as kind of a ploy to get us to just buy it, or do you think they're truly genuine and, hey, these guys, really have a target of Binance? And, my time with this group and watching is they're not really one to come out and say all this, nonsense stuff to get you to buy the coins. Usually they're very quiet and they seem humble. So when I think of them, saying, hey, look at us trying to support Binance, I am very confident that they actually see Binance as a primary target, and they've put in the work to get a listing there, because when they go to apply, if they have not already, they can say, hey, Binance, this is what we have. By the way, look at all of this stuff we're doing to represent the Binance company. And in turn, Binance will say, wow, we appreciate, that. We would love to list you more likely because, you've been supporting us in your developments. Another thing, too, is, possibly, I know Binance sometimes when they list a coin, they'll say, here's $1 billion coins for Binance users that they're going to distribute somehow. So I know SparkPoint probably still lacks a ton of money to pay listing fees, but because they've strategized and created those products, and they do have SparkPoint stored that they can use, say, hey, instead of paying the full fee, how about we provide your users with X amount of our coins in giveaways and airdrops and things like that, because Binance is really more about community, and of course they're about making money, but they like to grow cryptocurrency as well. So that's one thing to look at. Let's go to GitHub SparkPoint. This is where, if on those days where I'm like, are they, what's going on with SparkPoint? I haven't heard anything for weeks. What's happening? So you can kind of come in here and look. Here's Rico, here's Medard, here's Javier. This one doesn't really display anything. And this is their coding activity if they decide to share it publicly. This SparkLearn web app that they have sort of branched from a company called Moodle that creates educational platforms, for online learning, etc. This is a recent pop-up activity. So this shows that, hey, I don't know what's going on. Are they actually working on anything? Well, yeah, you can come in here and you can look at this and learn that, hey, SparkPoint is apparently using this Moodle to create, so SparkLearn, a fork of Moodle, the world's open source, learning platform, and you can read, and if you like code, you can come study some of the code. So this is a way to, even though you don't hear from SparkPoint, come check their GitHub and say, oh yeah, look, it looks like SparkLearn's in development. It's probably going to come out. So that's great. So you can look, their activities relatively consistent. However, it's more aggressive as time goes. Unfortunately, most of their contributions are always in these private repositories, so you can't see what it is. It could be, who knows. Medard's usually very active, but again, a lot of his stuff is in, he's working on the Moodle, but these are all private, so I can't see what they are. But you can at least look at these boxes and say, yeah, these guys are working every day. So, or mostly every day, even weekends, they're at least doing something. So that's good. Another reason why I'm like, let's get some SparkPoint. So let's recap. SparkPoint, there's a lot of things that, right now it's young, but they need to get rolling. They need to get some marketing. It's amazing how quiet they are. I get it. They're in the stage of building. Maybe they don't need the finances right now that a marketing campaign would give them. Maybe they're just in a good place. But it will become known. And exchanges need to happen at some point. I'm fine with waiting as an investor. I would say, I don't care if you don't get any exchanges. If you guys are going for Binance and you want to give them sort of exclusive rights, then hold off on other exchanges and go for the big dog, because the lowest token on Binance trading price is somewhere near, 1,000% greater price than what SparkPoint is. So by default, if SRK gets listed on Binance, it's up 8x at least, and then some. So that's incredible, and because of the effort that they've put into it, one day this will happen, and the price that we can buy SparkPoint at now, even up to 3 satoshis, even this whole range here, there's truly no resistance on this coin. If we take it down to 9 decimals, there's this is 6x, to get up to 3 satoshis is just a few bitcoins away, or a couple of bitcoins. It's not, there's no ceiling. But then you get back into that debate. Well, are they going to sell down? Because you could buy up here, but is SRK going to keep knocking it down, trying to distribute? So that's why I really think we need some information on how they're managing, distributing the supply, before some of us might be like, all right, I'm ready to start being more aggressive on purchasing this. Otherwise, they're just going to keep bringing it down to us, and just patience is going to prevail in that sense. On the other hand, as soon as that stops, you're going to blink an eye, and this is gone. In my opinion, it's going to take off. So, looking forward to that. We need to get some listings. The marketing is low, but the building is good. Every couple weeks they're building some new things. Sometimes it's big, often it's like, so what? But for the price and the comfortability I have that these guys are doing good work, for me it's a no-brainer. It's very high risk. Crypto in itself is high risk, and then these low market caps are extremely high risk as well. But when I put in risk versus reward, I think the reward is much higher, because I can put in a couple of $1,000s here, and if I lose a couple $1,000. But if I win, then I'm talking hundreds of thousands, if not more dollars. So I will, any day of the week, take that bet. Not to mention that SparkPoint is so far making me think that it is a pretty legit company that is going to go places, and it's just going to be, one day I wake up and they've gone and done something to put themselves on the map, and I think it's out the window. So again, high risk, absolutely. Where they stand today, is it perfect? No, but it's really all uphill from where they are. Another thing I talk about is availability of this token. They partnered with Changelly a while back. I don't know if I saw that in here somewhere. Which means in the SparkPoint wallet, you can go in and you can trade your cryptocurrencies for other cryptocurrencies. Like, you can turn Ethereum into, I think, basic attention token or something. There we go. Which is great, but you can't do it with SparkPoint, which kind of defeats the purpose, right? For me, the whole thing about having Changelly is I can buy Ethereum easily, many exchanges, and then if I wanted SparkPoint, I can send my Ethereum to the SparkX wallet, and then through the Changelly system that's integrated into the SparkX wallet, I could turn my Ethereums into SparkPoints. That's kind of the whole premise of why I think SparkPoint would most want to have Changelly integrated into their wallet. However, because SparkPoint is only listed on these, kind of non-desirable exchanges to which Changelly is not partnered with, then that's not an option. So the Changelly thing, I think, will come back again and be even more exciting once SparkPoint gets on an exchange that actually is supported with Changelly. So that way you can swap Ethereums, etc., for SparkPoint directly in the SparkPoint wallet through Changelly, and then that sort of eliminates the need to list on some other exchanges, because you just do it right in their wallet. So and of course Changelly is going to be only partnered with probably some of the elite exchanges, such as Binance, I know, is a partner, etc. So we're all shooting for this thing, Rico, and of course we don't mind waiting. But there's many other things, the game development, I guess one last thing, let's finish up with DLX. There it is. Interesting. So Delivery Xpark website is gone. It just stems you to the SparkPoint. So see, I feel like this is the kind of thing that you would want to tell people that are putting money, like, hey, we're updating Delivery Xpark, we are moving it, it's gone, we're not going to ever do it, something. But it's like, we need some transparency, because I just go today and look, delivery XBark is here, but their website is no longer there. So what does that tell me? It's not entirely useful. All right. I think that's all I got. Thanks for watching.